I think that's what's amazing in sports is you could bring hope to people, and not just like people who have suffered. I also want to bring hope to kids around the world, and mainly around Israel, but like anything is possible. And like I've become this kind of role model, and I really want to embrace it and bring good to this world. And if it's to people who have suffered throughout the war, or if it's to kids that dream of becoming the next Olympic champion, I really want to inspire and try and bring some goodness from this accomplishment, try and do something that's a bit bigger than me.
Hello and welcome to State of a Nation. I'm Elon Levy. During times of war or national crisis, everyone looks for moments of escapism and hope. For Israelis, that came at the Paris Olympics, when Tom Reuveny took the stage to receive Israel's first gold medal at the Games for windsurfing. It was Israel's fourth gold medal in its history, the first of 7 medals at the Paris Olympics, the most successful games ever for Israel, a third of its total medal share to date. And standing there on the podium in Marseille, the wind blowing through his hair, hearing Hatikva being sung, that sense of hope went both ways. Both an athlete giving hope and inspiration to his nation at home, but also drawing hope and strength from knowing what he himself is fighting for, as friends, family, even his brother is fighting in Gaza, and there is a nation to whom he needs to give strength and hope. Tom Reuveny joins me today on State of a Nation, the first guest on this show to bring his Olympic gold medal into the studio. Together we talk about what it means to represent Israel as an informal ambassador, the inside story of the athletes who gave him the cold shoulder because he was Israeli, and what we're cooking up between us for a possible future Olympics in Tel Aviv. Welcome to State of a Nation.
Breaking news out of Israel this morning.
Shocking hostage taking.
Hundreds of Israelis are dead.
I want to bring in Israeli government spokesman.
What happens with a 4-day pause?
How do you resolve this?
Where does this go?
Tom Reuveny, welcome to State of a Nation.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me, does your back hurt yet from walking around with that gold medal on your chest all day, every day?
I've stopped walking around with it quite a lot because my neck started to curl a bit. So I'm trying to, every time I'm fighting the urge to go forward, it's quite heavy. But yeah, it's a pretty nice medal, I have to say.
I imagine it's difficult adjusting to the fame. Suddenly you walk down Dizengoff Street in Tel Aviv with a gold medal around your neck. Everyone must be staring.
Yeah, even without the medal, I can see people looking and people coming up to talk to me. It's not like it was before. My life's changed quite a lot since the Olympics. But yeah, it's just, I'm trying to have the fun with it and be nice to the people around me and yeah, just see where it goes.
Amazing. Tell me, what does it feel like to come back to Israel, to a hero's welcome as a national champion?
It's pretty nice. It was pretty amazing. I didn't expect how big it would be. I didn't expect how much people, like, you know, you're doing what I'm windsurfing since I was 8. In the race, I was just windsurfing. I wasn't doing anything special, but it's the Olympics and winning the gold, that's the special part. And I just felt like I was doing something normal. And then suddenly, like, all the country knows about it. That was pretty, like, I wasn't expecting that. And I wasn't expecting people to stop me in the street and say, well done, and like, you've done so much for this country, and that's pretty amazing for me.
Because it wasn't just Israel's first gold medal at the Paris Games, Israel's 4th gold medal overall. It's just coming at a particular time. Yeah. A country that is at war, you are out there representing Israel. Why do you think that your victory at the Olympics struck such a nerve so many people that it moved them in that way you're describing? I
think since the 7th of October, everyone in Israel has been through quite a big trauma, and it's been hard for everyone, and more for the people in the south and the north, or people who have lost family members. It's been horrible to see it from the side, and I think everyone's just putting the trauma into like a small box and trying to pretend everything is normal. And I think once I won the medal and it gave everyone pride to be part of Israel, I think it was maybe Eden Golan is similar. Like, you feel proud to be Israeli in a way that when I won the gold medal, and I think it made everyone feel connected and everyone maybe see some light in the end of the tunnel, because I don't think a lot of people are seeing light at the end of the tunnel and what's going on with Israel right now. And I'm really happy that I managed to do that and give people some hope.
Amazing. You know, you experienced this coming back from Paris with a gold medal, seeing how much that victory moved people because we're going through a very dark period. But I imagine it's a big sense of responsibility going into the Olympic Games, not only thinking about how to actually win this thing, but knowing that you are representing a country that is under attack. You are representing Israel. Tell me what it was like to go to Paris, to go to the Olympics as a representative of the State of Israel.
So I think since the 7th of October, it was quite hard, especially like as an athlete, you see all your friends go to the military, you see all the people around you who don't go to military like start going and trying to help the situation. And as an athlete, you can't really like miss training in a way because you know you have really important competitions. And my federation and the Olympic Committee, they did a Zoom meeting like straight after the 7th of October. And one of the most important things they said to us is, you are you need to go and represent Israel the best you can at the Olympics and World Championships, and that's the best thing you can do right now. You can't take a gun and go and fight. Your help will be winning a gold medal, and that's what they said to us at the beginning, and that's something that we held on to. We're like, okay, now we have to train as hard as we can, so once we get to the Olympics, we can represent Israel as best as we can, and we can give back to all the soldiers, to all the people who have given so much since the 7th of October. We can actually give back to them in a way. And I think that was, I didn't feel responsibility. I felt like it gave me power. I felt like I was doing something that was bigger than me, and I only realized how big it was after I won the gold. Because I realized how much it meant to people. And when people, soldiers or people come to you in the street and say, Tom, like, you made me cry, I didn't feel so happy since the 7th of October. A hostage family said, like, that was some light in the horrible thing that they're going through. There was some light. Like, it's amazing to see that. And I think if I knew how big of an impact it would be before the Olympics, I probably would have shit my pants in the competition. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't know, and I'm glad I was able to do what I did.
Because you're providing people this moment of escapism, a little bit of glamour in all the darkness, like Eden Golan at Eurovision you just mentioned. But at the same time, you're having to keep yourself focused on playing the game, on windsurfing, knowing that friends, family, neighbors have been drafted into reserves. They're fighting in Gaza, and you're having to keep yourself separate from that reality. I imagine there's some sort of psychological dissonance there.
Yeah, I think you have to be quite selfish in a way, or like, I felt like I had to, on the Olympics especially, I had to not read the news, disconnect from everything, and try and be as disconnected as possible, and not to look at it, because it's hard reading the news. And in February, we had the World Championships. That was the last qualifier for the Olympics. And I wasn't chosen yet. That was where I would be chosen. And a few days before the event, I opened the news and I saw that my neighbor had tragically died in combat. And I think that was, I just started crying on the phone, like, whilst reading the news, and my girlfriend was there to support me. But like, I was in Lanzarote at the time, and you're there, like, in your own bubble, completely isolated from all that's happening in Israel. My brother was also in Gaza at the time, and your neighbor died, and you have to just put everything away and go out on the water and training like everything is normal when nothing is normal. And I remember my brother is in Maglan, and sadly there was something happened with Maglan, and like, we hear rumors. And then you're like, okay, maybe it's my brother. And you're in Lanzarote training and have to go in the water. And I remember I just told everyone around me, like, at the Worlds, don't tell me anything. I don't want to hear any rumors, anything. Because it's close to home. It's very close to home. And just on Friday, another friend from school who passed away in combat as well, was killed. So it's like really, really sad. And I guess this is the life everyone is experiencing, and just looking at the hostage families, what they're experiencing for 300, and I don't know the exact number today, but more than 300 days. That's insane. Yeah, I just think that the strength that people have in these hard times is amazing, and I'm so happy that I could do something small to make it just a little bit better, and I hope to keep doing that.
You've spoken here of 2 friends killed in combat, and you're speaking to their families, and I imagine it must be very strange for you, where on the one hand, you're disconnected from that world, you're not in reserves, you're not fighting, but you are, through your athletics, giving people strength and inspiration and hope, and they're looking at you as a kind of hero as well.
Yeah, I think that's what's amazing in sports, is you could bring hope to people, and not just like people who have suffered. I also want to bring hope to kids around the world, and mainly around Israel, but like anything is possible, and like I've become this kind of role model, and I really want to embrace it and bring good to this world. And if it's to people who have suffered throughout the war, or if it's to kids that dream of becoming the next Olympic champion, I really want to inspire and try and bring some goodness from this accomplishment, try and do something that's a bit bigger than me. And I really hope I can do that.
Let's talk a bit about the Paris Olympics, because this was happening at a time Israel is under attack, we're at war, a huge surge of anti-Semitism, a lot of security around the event. We all remember what happened at Eurovision, where Eden Golan wasn't able to leave her hotel. Even in her hotel, she had to walk around in disguise. Talk me through some of the security arrangements at the Olympics. I mean, ever since the 1972 Olympics and the massacre of the Israeli athletes, that has been hanging over everyone's head, and the thought that, yes, there could potentially be an attack on Israeli athletes. That's something you're conscious of while you're there.
Yeah, so in France, sadly, there is a lot of anti-Semitism as well. And you sometimes feel it when you're there. I remember...
What did you feel when you were there?
You see like graffiti of Palestinian flags, or there was one, I don't remember exactly, but something about Israel, like something bad about Israel, and lots of like, you walk in Marseille and you don't really feel safe. And there was quite close to Marseille, there was a girl who was, I think, or stabbed or murdered, a Jewish girl. And you say to yourself, like, I think people love, there's a lot of love in Marseille. The Jewish community was really warm, I have to say this first, and we met some of them and they were amazing.
Right, you weren't actually in Paris, right?
Yeah,
because
so we
there's
were
no windsurfing in Paris.
Yeah, so we were in Marseille. That was where we were training there a lot before, to know the place, know the water, know the winds. And the Jewish community was so nice and really supportive, and they also came to watch in the Olympics, so that was amazing. But on the other hand, at the Olympics, we didn't feel anything. But before, like, you see these graffitis on the wall, and you hear stories of anti-Semitism, and then there was a lot of security around us at the Olympics.
Did you feel personally threatened?
I wasn't allowed to leave the Olympic. So we had a hotel inside the marina, so it was a closed space, and we were not allowed to leave outside. So from the athletes, we did not feel anything.
Why were you not allowed to leave your
Because
hotel?
of security.
Specifically for the Israeli delegation?
Yes, we were not allowed to walk outside the Olympic village.
Why?
And it's quite a small place.
What were the concerns?
Oh, like, people know that we're there to compete, and people might know our faces, and people might try to do something. If
Were there specific threats?
I
alerts?
don't know. We didn't get anything. It's something that the security would know, and they wouldn't necessarily tell us. But we did have to try and be on the down low, and they also told us not to take any photos from the room, not to share any locations. They were trying to make sure that we are secure. Maybe there wasn't any threats, and they just wanted to make sure that we're safe and that there was zero chance that something would happen. But I would prefer being safe than sorry. And so I didn't leave the Olympic Village, and I actually had to. I went to see my girlfriend, but I was on one side of the Olympic Village and she was on the other because she was not allowed to come in. So that was like, we have a photo of me she took a photo of me behind the fence, and that's how we communicated.
They wouldn't let you near your girlfriend for your own safety.
Well, they wouldn't let me out of the Olympic Village, and that was for my own safety.
That's astonishing. I mean, I'm wondering, when you're talking to other athletes,
yeah,
they're heading out to the Olympic Village. They're going out, and you tell them, "Oh no, I can't join you for drinks tonight because I'm Israeli. I'm not allowed to leave the Olympic Village." What do they say? How do they deal with that situation?
Well, I think they're kind of used to. They know we've been with security before in other competitions. They're kind of used to us having security around us and have us having certain things we're not allowed to do.
Everyone else just takes it as normal that there are these security restrictions on the Israeli delegation, or does it surprise people?
Yeah, to surprise people, and especially the amount of security that we have, and some of the stuff that we need to do, and they put cameras on our lobby, so that's something that was quite surprising.
What do you mean?
So the security guards, they connected cameras, and they were watching 24/7 our lobby where all the Israeli athletes were, just to make sure that no one would come and try and do something. But as an athlete, I didn't really focus on what I cannot do. I focused on what I can do. I try and focus on the positive, and took the time to make sure that I'm doing everything perfect in the lead up to the Olympics. I know Sharon, the Israeli windsurfing girl, she wanted to go out for a run, so they gave her permission, and security was with her, and I think there was a police car driving next to her while she was a local police driving while she was out. But I said okay to the rules, and I just did what I could do to perform well, and I didn't really care too much. But I did get a lot of threats online. I'm sure you get that too. That was a lot. Suddenly one day, just before the event, I started getting a lot of Instagram and Facebook comments and DMs.
What sort of threats are you getting online? There
was one death threat. Well, I said, prepare your death, and then something else. Lots of stuff about me. I'm windsurfing for a fake country, or stuff lots of stuff, or your soldiers or diaper soldiers. That's pretty common.
Yeah. I think that's from the Indonesians. They like that for some reason.
I don't know. A lot of comments I didn't check from who they are, and my girlfriend was actually helping me run the social media at that time because I was quite busy at the event. And she said,
understatement of the century, a little bit busy. You're busy winning a gold medal for Israel in Paris.
I was doing a bit, but she was mainly helping me and wanted me to upload stuff whilst I'm on the water and stuff like that. And she saw the comments, and she's like, "Tom, don't look at the comments, and I can delete them if you want." And this is a real conversation we had, and I told her, "No, I've already read some of them, and don't worry, I like reading them." It's kind of, I don't know if it's sadistic, but I really liked reading them and seeing how much they were hurting the fact that I was competing for Israel in the Olympics, and how much it bothered them that I was there showing the Israeli flag and actually doing well in the competition. I'm not sure when they started. I think it started just a few days before. And it kind of gave me motivation, and I've said this a lot. It really did. I would read the messages, actually properly read them and say okay, now it's my time to dig that sword just a little bit deeper and make you hurt even more. And it was kind of fun for me. I always tried to look at stuff in a positive way. I know it's not really positive getting death threats, but I tried to look at it as in a positive way, and I took it in a let's get motivation for this. Let's perform better just to piss them off even more. And that was kind of my motto. And I said this to my girlfriend. I was like, no, I actually really like it. And that's how I went.
That is such a powerful message for people who receive hate and abuse online.
Yeah.
That maybe it's unpleasant, but if they are taking the time to write to you, and I also have people who are obsessive in spamming my DMs, you know that you're getting to them. And you know that there is nothing that the anti-Semites hate more than a happy Jew. So go be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Go live your life. Go twist that knife even deeper in them. But I'm wondering, the reception from fellow athletes, okay? This was a heavily politicized Olympics. The atmosphere around Israel, everyone remembers the bullying that Eden Golan, since you've already compared the situations, received at the Eurovision in Malmo from fellow competitors who were just beastly towards her. What was it like with other athletes? Did they turn their backs on you, not talk to you, bully you? What's going on there?
So in the windsurfing world, there's 24 athletes, but in the sailing, it's a bit bigger. For the windsurfing, there was only one guy who is Muslim. He was from Algeria. I haven't spoken to him during the event. I actually wanted to speak to him, but we didn't really get a conversation. So I didn't feel anything too much. And all the rest of the 23, I would say, are friends I see throughout the years. They're good friends. They always ask, like, what's the situation? They don't make, they might have an opinion, I don't know, but they don't make the opinion obvious, and they actually want to know a bit more or know more of my side than take an opinion, take a side and attack me. We did get some, during the last year, like stuff on social media that they would post pro-Palestinian stuff, and some people would reply to them and tell them like this and this. I try to stay away from it, but we didn't. Like most of the windsurfers were my friends, and they understand the situation. And if they don't agree, they might just not ask about the situation. We would talk about other stuff.
What about within the broader Olympic village?
So I didn't. No one came up to me and said anything political. And I'm happy for it. I think the Olympics should not be political at all. The Olympics, we're there to compete, and we're there, each person, to represent the country.
But politics aside, did you feel that maybe people were treating you differently because you're Israeli, were being hostile, deliberately turning their backs to you?
I don't think so. I did have one.
Good.
Yeah.
Good,
I think it's good. Yeah. And
because Jews are coming up against so much hostility around the world, and they don't know what to expect. I mean, we saw the video of John and Rachel Hirsch Goldberg's Poland's parents speaking at the DNC in Chicago, and Rachel broke down when she saw the reception that she received because they'd been told you might get a hostile crowd.
Yeah.
And so we're so used to thinking that there is so much hostility against us that when I hear stories like this and you go, oh, actually, no, at the Olympic Village, people weren't nasty to me. It reinforces our faith and our hope and our strength, knowing that actually, no, not the whole world is against us. There are haters out there, but let's not make the picture, gloomier than it actually is.
Yeah, I think it was nice, and there was actually a lot of people who, people who came to volunteer for the Olympics in Marseille, and most of them were really nice and said "Go Israel" or Am Yisrael Chai. So that was really nice. Some of them were Jewish, but some were not, and it was really nice to see. And also in Paris, when I was there, the volunteers were really nice. I didn't feel anything against Israel. There was
anything from the crowds, hostility?
So one time, but this is kind of like me asking for it in a way. I wanted to, I actually, in the Olympics, I wanted to show some countries that Israel is nice people. We are humans. We're athletes. We're not demons or anything like the media asks us. And you get these pins at the Olympics, and we get lots of Israeli, and then it's common to swap them with athletes. It's like a tradition that you do at the Olympics.
What, pins with the flags on them?
Yeah, so there was one kind of like the one you have.
I hope you brought me one.
Actually, I forgot, but similar to the one that you have with the Olympic rings on it, which is the Israeli Olympic, that's their kind of logo. And then there was one with the Eiffel Tower and Paris 24, and then the Israeli flag. And I wanted to see I wanted to swap, and I wanted to say hello, be nice to people from countries that are not very friendly to us, and see how it goes, and show them that we are human. And I think that's something that I believe. The media turns us into demons or people who don't care about humans and assholes and all these kinds of stuff. And I wanted to show them hey, I'm human, I'm nice. And at the flag. So in the village in Marseille, we didn't really see too many people from Arab countries. And then in Paris, when I was there for the week, at the closing ceremony, I went to the Saudi team and I asked if they want to swap. They said, we don't have any, which is a good answer. They don't have to swap. It's okay, I understand. All is good. And then I was waiting, we were waiting for to enter the flag bearers, and the Jordan team was next to me. We have a peace deal with Jordan. I didn't see anything bad about it, and I asked them if they want to swap, and they very unpolitely just turned their heads away, and it made me feel I abused them or something. That's how they made me feel. So I don't want this to come out as I was kind of asking for it, so I'm not complaining at all, but I would have liked that the way they made it feel. There was a bit uncomfortable, and I think I could have been nicer. They could have just said, no, thank you, it's all good. We're at the Olympics, we're not politicians. So that's something I was sad about. At the Olympics, you're not meant to have politics involved. And then like they get politics involved. So that's something that I was a bit upset about.
I think you're wrong, Tom.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I don't think you were asking for it.
Okay.
I think it is absolutely the wrong attitude to say that a perfectly normal expression of sportsmanship, wanting to swap these pins, right? Like these are friendship bracelets at a Taylor Swift concert, right? Wanting to swap these pins with fellow athletes is you being provocative just because it's the Israeli Olympic Committee? No, this is you being a normal athlete, taking part in a normal competition. And if they're going to be haters, that's on them. There's nothing provocative about demanding the same treatment as all the other athletes in the world.
Yeah. But I don't want this to come out as they came to me and said things. Like I came to them, and if I wouldn't have come to them, nothing would have happened. So I kind of made this happen. But yeah, I would have liked a nicer reaction, I would say. But it is only 2 people. Maybe some other people at the team are nicer. I tried to look at the good in everything and not say, 2 people from Jordan didn't want me, so all Jordan hates us. I try and not think about that.
You said that you try to keep politics out of the games. You don't think the games should be about politics, and that you notice some of your fellow athletes sharing pro-Palestinian things on social media, and you say, look, I don't want to get into it. But look, we live in a world in which Israelis who are not diplomats, not politicians, not spokespeople, traveling around the world, doing business, going on vacation, find themselves ambassadors for Israel. Because people come to them with questions or with hostility, and they find themselves in this position where they need to explain their country. That's just part of what it is to be Israeli in the modern world. And so I'm wondering whether you did nonetheless have these experiences where people are coming to you and suddenly you find yourself having to be, you just want to focus on windsurfing, but a kind of diplomat having to explain Israel.
Yeah, so it happens quite a lot. That you have to explain Israel, and I don't try and attack people for their thinking. Like the media in the world is so biased, like we all know it, and it's not always their fault for not knowing everything. And I try and like come up with facts that are true and that are quite basic life, not saying Israel is right or Israel is wrong, and not getting into that, because that's really hard to persuade someone when they already have like, okay, they think Israel is wrong, so they're like, okay, anything he'll say, I'm not going to listen to him anyway. So sometimes it's really hard to change people's minds about a subject they already made their mind on. But I try and come up with facts and stuff that are true and that show like the harsh reality of like Hamas. Like their leaders of Hamas are billionaires, and Hamas is one of the poorest places. The people themselves are one of the poorest people in the world. So how is that okay? And that's not political. It's not. Israel's not involved. Like the Hamas leaders are worth 11 billion, and Hamas and people of Gaza are really poor. So maybe if it wasn't like that, or maybe if they wouldn't use the people of Hamas to get richer, the people of Gaza to get Hamas richer and then poorer, and then they don't have options, so they have to go and fight. Like. And I know a lot of people are bad in Gaza. I'm not saying they're good people, but I'm saying to people in the world, like, listen, like, they're under this regime that is horrible, and we're coming to, in a way, help them. Or we're coming to stop this regime. And like, imagine that Hamas wouldn't make them so poor, and they're doing it on purpose because it helps their agenda. Then maybe it could have been a nice place. And if you're like us, we don't focus on war because we have other things in life to focus on. And when you have money, you don't want to go and kill people. And I tried to explain, like, that's one of their agendas. And imagine there was a world that people in Gaza would get that money that they're paying Hamas, because the tax that Hamas are taking on stuff they get for free. So imagine they had a good life, they had a nice house, they had stuff to do. They wouldn't maybe care that much about the conflict in Israel, because they would have things to focus on. But when you're fighting for food and water, of course you're going to hate Israel in a way, because they're all like that. They've been taught to hate Israel, and they've been told that this is the reason you're in this position is Israel. So that's one of the things I say. And also in the West Bank, like, you get paid if you go and kill an Israeli for life. Your family get paid if you die. That's like, it's wrong. And I try to explain, like, this is their agenda. And it's not even anything about Israel politics. It's all about if I'm right-wing, left-wing, it's nothing. It's just saying, like, these are facts. And the West Bank, I think it's $160 million a year goes to pay to families or people who have committed assaults against Israelis, if it's murder or stabbing.
I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a significant share of the Palestinian Authority budget, which, you know, comes from your fellow athletes' tax dollars that goes to stipends for terrorists in jails.
Mahmoud Abbas, I checked this, he's worth $100 million, I think. Mahmoud Abbas, he's like, it's wrong, and that's why I try to explain. I don't try and explain, well, I completely agree that it's wrong what they did on the 7th of October, and it's horrible. But then once they come with the belief of that it had before, and once they like tormented into this idea that, you know, like the head of the UN, I think, said it didn't happen in a vacuum, if I'm quoting him right. So they've been fed all this information, and it's going to be hard to persuade them. But I'm trying to come in a different direction and saying, like, hey, listen, this is their reality. And how can you have a war with people that this is their reality and like try and do it in a nice way? Like, imagine, like, when I explain to people think people in the West Bank are these amazing people that want peace. And I'm like saying, like, hey, the PA pays people to go and kill people. How is that? Like, where do you have that in any other country, like Western country? Yeah. And people don't know this. And this is like how I try to picture it. And then they might, I hope this is what I'm doing. It might raise questions about, okay, so I tell this to the person, and then they might ask questions about the whole situation, and maybe they've been taught wrong. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people. And I'm not trying to say like Israel is right, because it's very hard to persuade. And I think you've been like meeting these people around the world, and I think I'm trying to do it in a different way and explain to them in a different way.
And then you find yourself basically being, like every Israeli abroad, this roaming ambassador for Israel. And yet, despite what happened on October 7th, despite the evidence of Hamas's inhumanity and abuse of the Palestinian population, there were calls at these Olympics to ban the Israeli delegation. Yeah. How did that make you feel?
Well, I think the calls come from people who send the messages online. So they're very small and hateful people. I'm not sure how big the calls were, and I hope, like, in the end, we did compete, and I think we deserve to compete. I don't really understand the whole politics around it, like of why Russia is not competing, and people are connecting us with Russia and saying, why should Israel compete if Russia's not competing?
I think they tell this simplistic story that says, look, Russia invaded and attacked Ukraine. Yeah. Israel invaded and attacked Gaza. Russia is slaughtering innocent civilians. Israel is slaughtering innocent civilians. They're the same thing when they don't understand the context that Hamas started this war, that Hamas took hostages, that Hamas fired rockets at Israel, that Hamas lured Israel into a horrible urban war to bring down the terrorist regime threatening to do October 7th again and again. But like, you explain these points to people, but they're just stuck with, oh no, Russia, Ukraine, copy, paste.
Yeah, I think like that's the hardest part about this, trying to explain Israel is like the people come with a agenda, and it's hard to change. And once you have your agenda, you only look for the truth in why you are right, and you don't look at the other side. And I think it's really hard. And that's also, as Tom, like as me, I try and always look, like in this conflict, I would look at the other side, look at what they're saying as well, to know like maybe like you have this in China, the people are like brainwashed from a very young age to believe in the Chinese concept. And I always ask myself, maybe I'm like that. And the answer is no. I don't want people to understand me wrong, but I always try and look at the other side. And I think a lot of people don't do that. And that's something that I think is important. Like always question your beliefs in everything. And I think that's really good. And yes, what Hamas did on October 7th is horrible. And the rape. And people are still saying like stuff like that didn't happen. And that they killed only soldiers or that they attacked only bases. And we all know it's not true. But some people, like the media shows what it wants to show, and it shows its own agenda, and you start believing that agenda, and it's a problem, and I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. And you also see it inside Israel with the media, that it's very, like, you have the different channels, and they're very biased and very, like, against each other, and it creates hate in a sense. And yeah, I don't know what the solution is, and I try and spread, like, these facts about Israel that I know are true, and try and show Israel in a good light. And I think also me as an ambassador, like, try and show that I'm a good human being, that I'm nice, that I'm caring, will in a way show that what they see in the media is not always true.
And you know, Tom, I think that's enough. I think maybe sometimes you don't have to get into these discussions about Mahmoud Abbas did this and Hamas did that. If you go and you represent the nice, beautiful face of Israel, of decency, of good sporting values, of dignity, it changes people's perceptions about what this country is and who we are. You know, this country has a long road ahead of recovery after October 7th, and with this horrible war as well. In particular, I'm thinking about the hundreds, thousands of wounded soldiers whose lives have changed beyond recognition. And I know that Israel's Paralympic delegation began as a way of doing something useful and productive with wounded soldiers who were, you know, your age, at the prime of their lives, suddenly finding themselves without a leg, without an arm, still wanting to remain fit, still wanting to be competitive, still wanting to get those energies out. And we're going to have a lot of wounded soldiers now who I imagine the Paralympic delegation is already looking at as potential competitors for Los Angeles in 2028. I'm wondering, what sort of advice might you have for wounded soldiers about using sport as a way to build mental fortitude, to give themselves a sense of meaning and purpose?
Yeah, I think sport is amazing. It gives you so much back. And we talked about this off record earlier about why don't you live in Tel Aviv, or why don't you want to go out? And my life is sport, and I enjoy every day going out on the water or going to the gym or doing exercises.
You can do all of those things in Tel Aviv, I promise you.
Yeah, I know, but I really...
The fact I don't doesn't mean anything. You can do it in Tel Aviv.
But like my life, I love it so much, and sport has given me so much. And every day I wake up and I love what I do as an athlete. And I think also the Paralympic people could have that, and I've spoken to quite a few, and they also love their sport and they love what they do. And a message I have, not just I have a message to the soldiers, is I hope they manage to come into the sport and go to the Olympics and win medals, because there's nothing better than that. But I also want to send a message to people who can support. And unfortunately, the Paralympics don't get as much recognition as the Olympics, and they don't have as much sponsors. And slowly it's becoming more, and I saw a few ads on TV with the Paralympic. But I do hope that people who hear this and could support would go out and support the Paralympic team, because I've met some of them and they're all amazing, down-to-earth people. And not all of them are soldiers, but the ones who are soldiers, and the soldiers that will become Paralympic deserve, if they decide to become athletes, they deserve to do it in the best way possible and get support from it. And unfortunately, the support is not always there. So if someone's hearing this and wants to support some soldiers in the journey, because it's a hard journey, like their life has completely changed. And my dad was injured in the military, not a lot, but he had burns all over his body, and it did change his life.
Not a lot. That does sound like a very serious injury to have burns all over his body.
Russian cocktail or
Molotov cocktail.
Molotov cocktail, yeah. So it did change his life in a way, and it's like took a long time to recover, and you also have the trauma, mental.
What happened to him? When was this?
He was in Sadir.
He was in the full-time
national
service,
yes, and he was driving his jeep, and a Palestinian threw a Russian Molotov cocktail into his car, and he got up in flames straight away. He jumped out of the car, started rolling on the ground. and had to have he had burns on his belly area and some on his, not a lot of in his face, mainly on his neck. And then you had the operations. You have to take skin from your legs because it grows better and put it on your body. So he has a lot of scars. You don't really notice it anymore, and you don't really see it, but like it's quite big. And he's I don't know how you call it, but he counts as a
wounded veteran, a disabled veteran.
Exactly.
A disabled veteran.
And I think it changed his life in a way. He didn't become an athlete, but he loves windsurfing and he brought me into this world, and he does tons of sport, and I think it really helps him. And to the soldiers that don't become professional athletes, even just doing sports, whatever sport you can do, I think it really helped him, and I think it impacted him mentally in a way. And back then it was quite different. I would say I think it happened around in the 80s. No one really talked about post-trauma and all these kind of stuff. And we do, like, my dad never really talked to us about the incident, I think, because it's a traumatic incident for him. And I would suggest people to go and talk about it and get some help, because it's normal now, and it's like they should get the help and they deserve to get the help, and I hope they have something around them that is helping them, and and I hope they become the next Olympic gold medalists.
No, the Paralympians are extraordinary. You're right; they don't get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a hero, but they're superheroes to be able to do what they are doing, having sustained those injuries.
Yeah.
Tell me the moment you stand up on that podium and have that gold medal that is making your back ache already placed around your chest. It's a moment not only of personal accomplishment, but to hear Hatikva being blurred in front of that audience when you know there are people there who are not going to like it. It must feel like a massive middle finger and F you at the haters.
Yeah, so it was a pretty special feeling, and to have my whole family there, and my coaches and a lot of people who were around me during the event, and some Jewish and people from Israel who came to support. It was really amazing. And I think the moment was too big to grasp. I couldn't completely grasp the moment because it's like a lifelong dream. You did it at probably Israel's darkest moment, and there's so much thoughts going on in your head. And one of the thoughts I do remember, and which is quite took me back to reality. Like, you're standing on the podium, on lifelong achievement. You made the whole country proud, and then in where the audience is, you see someone lifting a flag, and in the Magen David there is the hostage symbol, and then that kind of puts it into perspective, and you're saying I'm on top of the world, but there are still hostages in Gaza, and that was a big moment for me, and I really want to try and use maybe a bit of power than I have to somehow help in this horrible thing that they're going through. But that was one of the, I was super emotional. My family was there. That was the best thing ever. And then suddenly I was taken back to that thought, and that's a thought I can really remember. But it was amazing, and hearing the Tikva was it's a dream of every athlete. And it's the second time I've heard it.
Well, not the Palestinian athletes.
Yeah, but it's something that you dream about, and it was the second time that I did it. One time in the youth, and I never had it in the senior except the Olympics. So it was a pretty big experience. And my brother, who was serving in Gaza since the 7th of October until April, so most of my run up to the Olympics, he was able to be there. And I think that was really amazing for me, and one of the best things ever, to have the whole family there and not having to worry about him too much. And the
brother who was serving in Gaza, was able to get out for the Olympic ceremony.
Yeah, he was there throughout the whole week, which was pretty amazing. And I remember I won the medal, and I wasn't really emotional. I was ecstatic, and I got to the beach, hugged all the like the other sailors and the coaches and the staff, and then I ran to my girlfriend and my family were together, and that's when I really got emotional. That's when like the tears started coming, and just seeing them there with me, like I'm getting emotional now.
I'm getting all emotional now.
I'm getting emotional talking about it, but like seeing all of them there, and like my parents have done so much for me to get there, and like my brother serving in Gaza for months. My girlfriend always says that this was like a stars coming together, that we didn't see him I saw him once since the 7th of October for a few hours. And since then, we didn't see him. And he came home in the most important part of the competition for 3 days. I finished the competition, I flew back home, and on the morning I flew home, I didn't see him. He went back to Gaza. And I think that was such like an important part, because it gives you peace of mind. And like having your brother not knowing anything of what he's doing, like it's not safe to be in Gaza. We lose soldiers all the time, and it's really sad. And suddenly, like your brother is back home, it gives you this peace of mind to go and compete and do your best, and not having to worry about him too much. So that was pretty nice to have him there.
How has he been taking it on his end? What has it been like for him to be fighting in Gaza while you are off being a national hero in another sense in Paris?
So I think he doesn't really, when he's in Gaza, he doesn't think we worry about him for some reason. He's like, they're with this team, like they do what they need to do, and they don't really think too much about what's going on in the outside world. But he said when I qualified and they were trying to follow the competition, the World Championships, all the team were really happy, and when they knew that I was going to the Olympics, they were all super proud, and they were like, I think he said like it really gave us something to look forward to, and it really gave us something to be happy about, other than being in Gaza. And it's quite shit being in Gaza and having to fight over there, and it's not the nicest place to be. And he said it was pretty amazing to know that you're fighting for the Olympics and fighting for your dream, and we were all ecstatic supporting. That's what he said with his team, and we were all ecstatic and supporting you, and it was super nice, and I hope to meet them soon.
And that's amazing to think that you have this feedback loop of motivation, that you are giving motivation and a bit of escapism to people living this horrible reality in Israel with the war in Gaza. And at the same time, when you see someone out there in the audience holding an Israeli flag with a hostage sign, that gives you a dose of strength as well, because you remember ultimately what you're fighting for in your own way by standing up against it. Tom, what's next for you with your athletic career? I mean, you must, at what age do you retire in your world?
I think you can push it until 36.
36, so you're 24 now. You've got another 3 Olympics left in you?
Yeah, I said I'm definitely doing 2 more, and then we see. My lifelong goal is to be the most successful windsurfer, which is the most successful guy is 2 gold medals. So I will need to have 2 golds and then another medal
in Olympic history.
In Olympic history in windsurfing. So that's my goal since the last few years. I ticked 1, a few more to go, but I'm really motivated to keep going. I love what I do. I love my life, and I want to continue as long as I can, and as long as I'm enjoying it.
Were you expecting to win this gold medal?
It's been there was a thoughts in the back of my head and visions of doing it. I really like manifesting stuff, but did I think it could happen? No. You
didn't think it was going to happen?
No. I thought I could medal.
You sail to victory and they give you a gold medal and it comes as a total surprise?
Yeah, it was. I knew I could medal. I had the capabilities of medaling, but I haven't had any medals in European or World Championships yet. And then expecting to do gold at the Olympics is kind of like a big leap. I did believe I could do it, but you always have doubts. And before the competition, I was doubting if I even could be in the top 5. But then everything, it went well. I was really performing well, and I came home with the gold. So it's pretty amazing.
You walk around home with the gold as well, or it's kept in a safe or a display cabinet somewhere?
I still haven't worked on it. I try not to walk around it too much. It's actually getting a bit damaged, so I'm trying to...
You're there doing the dishes, it's getting splashed with dish soap.
No, so the first week I did wear a lot. Also in all the interviews I've done, they asked you to bring it. Today you asked me to bring it. So in these kind of stuff, I did bring it, and then you end up walking about with it all day because you're going from one interview to the next. But now that I'm home, I put it aside. I don't really focus on it too much.
You'll find it slip between the sofa at some point. Tom, final question. Do you have any hope that we will see the Olympics hosted in Tel Aviv one day?
I hope so. I think we're an amazing country, and bringing the Olympics here would show what an amazing country we are, and we have such a nice people, and it's a big event to host, and I don't know if Israel is capable of doing that
It
now.
would be such a balagan.
Yeah.
Although we did host the best Eurovision.
Yeah. I don't know where they would build the stadiums, but I think if we have the opportunity, we should definitely go for it and really show all the world what a country we are, because I think we're one of the most amazing countries in the world. And I think we've done so much since Israel became a country. And I think we can keep doing a lot, not just in sports, in every other part of life, and just put up the Jewish spirit loud and the Israeli spirit, and keep fighting strong for our country. And I want to say thank you to all the people who have been fighting for us, and we're here because of them. And it's a big thank you from the bottom of my heart, and keep fighting in the future and holding the flag up high.
In every Olympics, the country that hosts it gets to introduce a new branch of sport. I'm wondering, if Israel hosts the Olympics one day, what sport should we introduce?
Matkot.
Matkot. There we go. How do you say matkot in English?
I don't know. I was thinking of it, but I said it in Hebrew.
It's like a beach tennis. What do you?
I think it's one of the most iconic sports in Israel, I would say.
It is. And you say you don't like Tel Aviv, but for me, the soundtrack of the weekend, walking down the beach, and you have this stretch of a few hundred meters of just hundreds of these balls flying in the air, and the tuk, 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 tuk. That's the sound of the weekend in Israel. Olympic gold medalist Tom Reuveny, thank you for coming on State of the Nation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of today's episode with Olympic gold medalist Tom Reuveny. As always, if you enjoy these episodes, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, of course, wherever else you get your podcasts. Subscribe, give us a like, share the link with all of your friends. You see, not all the episodes are depressing, and they're not all about politics. Follow us on all the social media platforms. I'm Elon Levy, and thanks for joining us.